Hello and welcome to Hare and the Hawthorn. My name's Kate Ray and I'm your host, and I'm here to talk to you today about something that happened to me fairly recently and has made itself publicly known for good reason as well, and for lots of spooky reasons. I recently had a past life regression. I'll go into the details of it. And part of the past life regression, which was actually streamed live to participants viewing, there was a EVP captured, so an electric voice phenomena. It was something that was very clear and was pointed out by a viewer who was watching the live stream take place. Now, this has been going around the internet through the lovely gentleman who took me through the past life regression, and also other people have been talking about it. So I decided that I would come on and chat to you about what that was and give it a broader context, really, of what happened from my perspective, why I think it may have happened. There has been some speculation about that. On the 7th of November, I was invited along by Paul Goddard, the lovely Paul Goddard, who I met at Parameet this year, which was a meeting of like-minded paranormal people who gave talks about their experiences within the paranormal field. If you can get yourself to that next year, that will be taking place, I think it's September, correct me if I'm wrong. It's through the Haunted Antiques Centre. So you'll be able to get tickets through there. I will be speaking there again. Anyway, I bumped into the lovely Paul Goddard, who asked me to come along and do a Tuesday Chit Chat, which is a paranormal show talking about people's experiences. He, from there, invited me to have a hypnosis session with him to do with past life regression. Past life regression is something that's not new to me in its concept, and having done it previously, I was well up for doing that. But it wasn't until the last minute that I really started panicking about doing it live stream. My panic actually came about for the fact that I thought, what if while I'm under hypnosis, while I'm going through this regression, what if I end up drooling or snoring or I fall off my seat? I never thought that something like an EVP would be captured, but I'm absolutely thrilled that it was. I tend to have phenomena occur around me, and it's usually during these sessions where I'm talking about the paranormal, where things happen, and I wanted to put meat on the bones for this particular incident. So during the past life regression, now, I don't know whether it was prior to the EVP or whether it was actually after the EVP happened. I felt my chair that I'm sat in now jolt forward. I've not been able to find where that is on the video. The video of the past life regression is viewable on YouTube, and I'll put the link below. And I kind of passed it off. I thought, you know, has my dog come in the room and sort of knocked my chair? Have I had some kind of weird sort of spasm? But I remember thinking that's quite strange that it was such a jolt that my knee actually hit my desk that the computer's on. So that kind of thing does regularly happen to me during Zoom meetings, usually when I'm recording for my paranormal show, often for recording for other people's paranormal shows where they ask me to come along. Not EVPs. I don't think I've ever had an EVP that's been spotted, although I am going to be listening quite intently back to some of the previous shows. During this particular past life regression, I was taken back to a life that I believe is intrinsically part of my makeup. Now, whether you believe in past life regression in terms of it is an actual past life, or whether you believe that these are spaces of the subconscious coming forward and giving you information that you need, particularly in your life at that point, almost like a lucid dream. I have a repetitive theme, and one of my strongest past life regressions has always been Scandinavia, I think, or Northern Europe at a particular time. So I was taken back to this particular space, and I came across familiar people who I recognized as my family in that past life. And it was all fairly mundane. It was about community life. It was about my siblings. It was about my role within this particular community. And as we were going through, Paul took me through certain stages of my life, important places and times in my life. And it started off just with an opening of me in a place that that was important. And I figured I was kind of 20 something years old, and I was in a room with my brothers and my husband. And he then took me on through series of events throughout my life, from a very young age, and looking at the significance of them. And when I came to 40, so 40 in my past life, it made me smile. It made me smile because I felt a lot older than I do now. I am in my 40s. And when he said, you know, how do you feel? He said something along the lines of, how do you feel being 40? And I felt very old. I felt very much older than I do right now. I felt not old as in weathered old, but I felt very much more mature, very much seen within the community with a great deal of maturity. And it's around about that point in the conversation where a viewer messaged on the live chat and said, I've heard a lady's voice. And there was very clearly a voice, a female voice, that what I thought when I heard it back says, tell her. And that was it. That was it. It wasn't for me a class A EVP, because some people hear it slightly differently. Some people can't distinguish it. I did send off the clip that evening, I think it was, or the day after, to Barry Guy from Help My House is Haunted. He's a good friend of mine. And he was able to clean the clip up and slow it down a little. So he took out all the background noise from that particular clip. And for me, I still hear, tell her. I'm intrigued, you know, tell her what, you know, what do I need to be told? What is it that I need to be told? That's the curious side of me. The other side of me doesn't want that kind of interaction and activity, which is a strange thing to say when you're a paranormal investigator. I'm a paranormal investigator, a researcher and writer, and it's quite a strange thing to say. Some of the things that have been happening, and I think where I wanted to put the meat on the bones to this particular story, is to do with the paranormal activity that has been cited as my house is haunted. I don't truly believe that that's the case. I don't believe my property is haunted, but I believe that there are strange or anomalous activity that goes off around me. And that's not saying that I'm special. That's not saying, you know, that I stand out from the crowd that happens. And it's not saying that it's something that I invite in, because I don't. I very much are very conscious of keeping those lines between the material world and the ethereal world separate as much as I can. And I'm very respectful when I do work in sort of the astral sense, and I expect that kind of respect back from any energies that may be around. I'm going to give you some examples of things that have occurred while I've been on Zoom to different people, and things that have occurred not only on screen but off screen and just after. So every time I have one of these Zoom interviews with people, one of the things that occurs regularly for me, which isn't a surprise, I'm not a technical person, but I will have technical issues. And it's usually with a guest that I have booked for a long period of time, or I have bothered and bugged them to come on the show for a long period of time, and I will have experienced difficulties with the internet or with my actual laptop crashing. I came and sat down not long ago to do an interview with somebody, and everything had been wiped from my laptop, absolutely everything. I'd set it up the day before, I'd checked everything through, and I came to do the interview and there was nothing. The day after, it all came back. So that's just one example. Other people who I'm interviewing also experience phenomena with technology to the point where it's almost laughable. So when me and Neil sit down and have a pre-chat with our guests and talk them through what the show's about, what we're going to be talking about, they will often experience really strange technological problems from their end. For me and Neil, this is part and parcel of the programme, part and parcel of actually what happens. Another thing that happens when I'm interviewing or when I'm talking about the paranormal, and it happens usually when I'm talking about fairies and the fae realm more than any other time, is that I will get light anomalies that will occur on screen. Now, for me, the majority of them, as looking at it from a very critical point of view, the majority of them, I could pass them on as that's lint, it's dust, it's not light anomalies, it's little particles of dust that are whizzing by the camera at that particular time that pick up the light. There are times, though, when I actually see physically with my eyes these light anomalies, and I will see them not on the screen, but you can see me tracking them because I can see them going by, and they kind of pulsate and flash and will go off screen. I don't actually find them distracting anymore. I did in the first instance. I found them hugely distracting. Another phenomena that has occurred, and it's not been particularly on the interviews that I have, where I've been the interviewer, but when I've been the interviewee, I have had not DVPs, but strange noises going off in the background that whoever's been interviewing me has commented on. And they are very, very weird, very, very weird noises. I had that happen with the lovely Thomas Sheridan when I sat being a guest on his show. So these kind of things occur while I'm online and talking. Things also occur during the time that I'm online. The past life regression that I did. So that evening I had my chair pushed. I felt that I had my chair pushed while I was in the regression. I had that EVP that was picked out saying, tell her. But also right at the very, very end of the regression, there was 3 very loud bangs on the door downstairs, the exterior door, like very, very loud. It set my dog off. It was very audible. At night, you can't access that door at all, at all. My gates are completely locked. There is no chance that anybody could have got to that door to knock on that door. These kind of things that occur, I've got to the stage where there are so many things that have racked up over the years as being strange or unexplicable. It's almost like it's part of a weekly occurrence. There'll always be something on a weekly occurrence that happens. So in this property, how it's been cited that the house is haunted, because I think that's the easiest way people find to explain it. There has been on a couple of occasions shadow figures seen. When I say shadow figures, I don't mean sort of the big scary boogeyman type that you kind of that frighten you, but just shadows of people. As you sat, you can see the shadows going across the wall. I experienced that. I moved in this property in August, so only a few months ago. And the very first day that I was here, I saw a shadow move down the hallway. And I didn't really think anything of it in terms of it's a new property. I'm getting used to the layout of the house, how my shadow casts in the house, that kind of thing. So it kind of gets put to the back of thinking. I think what really intrigues me is why and how on that particular past life regression did my mic, which is just about here on my cord, pick up somebody saying, tell her, when it was obvious that there was somebody wanting to impart something to me. So it was picked up. I understand, you know, the basics about how electronic voice phenomena work, but why that wasn't imparted to me, why that wasn't a direct voice phenomena, and that's not something that I have experienced. I was just, you know, thinking then, have I experienced it here? I haven't experienced it here. Things that I've experienced after doing interviews with people about the paranormal have been, they sound really mundane, and it does get the brain thinking. And one of the things that I want to talk about in the future is how very mundane hauntings are in the great grand scheme of things. I did one particular interview probably about 9 months ago. And after the interview, I'd sat down in a chair, just relaxing. And I saw out the corner of my eye some movement down the side of my chair. And it was a wire that was plugged in to a set of fairy lights that ran up and round the back of my chair and round the room. And as I looked down, the cord was then tugged again. It looked like something was tugging the cord. So I went to grab the cord, thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I went to grab the cord and the cord tugged in my hand. But from the side that I could see, it was being tugged. I flipped out. I flipped out. I jumped out my chair. I was swearing. I didn't know what was going on. It was bizarre. It was crazy, that one was, because it was like, of all the things you can do, if you're an astral being, if you are the spirits of the dead, if you are a phenomena that occurs outside the realms of material, and you find that you can move objects and manipulate things, why would you tug a cord? What is that? It wasn't in my line of vision, so it was not particularly trying to get my attention. It was just, it begged belief, but it did upset me. It upset me to the fact that I have this thing of, I don't invite into my house. I don't invite and invoke spirits into my house. This is my space and my sacred space, and there is time and a place to communicate, and this isn't it. So I always get a little bit annoyed when things like that happen. Previous to that, in the same chair, after another interview that I'd done, I had a wreath of flowers from Beltane hung up just above the chair. And again, I was sat there at the corner of my eye. I saw a movement, and this very heavy, whizzy ring of flowers was swaying backwards and forwards. No draft, no wind. And as soon as I noticed it and exclaimed about it, because again, I stood up and said, what that is going on? It stopped. It just stopped. I could go on with many, many stories about things that do occur during and after. And also when I'm researching different phenomena and researching particularly guests, or I write for Haunted Magazine. So if I'm writing for Haunted Magazine about a particular subject, because my head is in that space, it seems to create an energy that then bubbles up and reveals itself. That's one way of looking at it. The other way to view this is I am within the start of thinking about the theories of this kind of phenomena happens more than we think. And it's not until you have an open mindset and that you're in a space to be able to accept it that you start seeing things on a regular basis and start picking things up on a regular basis. Again, that's another subject that I would like to do a chat about. I'll grab Neil for that one. The reason why Neil isn't here is because I really wanted to start putting bones to the whole story of this past life regression. If anybody's got any questions about it or anybody wants to throw any light on it, I know that people have suggested that it may be one of my spirit guides. I can categorically say that it's not one of my spirit guides, that I don't have female spirit guides right now. I know I don't have female spirit guides. I know to a lot of people that might sound very, very strange that, you know, spirit guides, you work with your spirit guides, but I do believe that these are probably archetypal slithers of myself that that I sort of pull in as sentient energies to help work me through the astral realms, but none of them are female, none of them are feminine. So for me to have a feminine voice, I would definitely rule out that this was a female spirit guide, unless one of them has decided to sound very, very feminine. Oh, like and another. It's not a voice that I recognised. It's not a voice that I thought, that is the spirit of somebody I know who's deceased. It sounded quite a young voice to me. It sounded, I would say, sort of in the, late teens, early 20s. It wasn't a childish voice. And it was almost like there were two energies, at least, that were present. And the female energy was saying, tell her something, tell her what it is, tell her. I'm hoping in the future to do some experiments with EVP. I'm not technologically minded with these things. I'm a paranormal investigator, but I do generally choose to do old school type of investigations. I use spirit boards, pendulums, just calling out into the ether for things to happen, that kind of thing. I truly do believe that for me, technology becomes very overwhelming, but I would like to do some EVP experimentation, and especially in this kind of format where I may be Zooming. It could be live, it doesn't have to be, and I don't know, I haven't formulated that, so keep an eye out for that. Anyway, so me and Neil are going to be back. We're going to be back with some different stories. We are going to be looking into some fairly famous cases, fairy cases, and trying to get to the bottom of them from a bit more of a modern scientific perspective, and also from a spiritual perspective. So that's coming up shortly. That will be the new ones will be coming up within the next few weeks. We have got new guests coming up, so please keep on looking out for guests for the future. If you're somebody who would like to come on the show, sit and chat with us about your strange experiences that you've had, or if you're a writer or a paranormal researcher, or if you have a particular belief system that you'd like to come on and talk to us about, we'd always love to hear from you. So you can find me on Facebook, Kate Hare Girl Ray, also on Instagram, I don't Twitter, so don't bother there. We do read all the comments, by the way. Just want to let you know, we do read every single comment that comes up, and we will be doing some addressing those comments in the future. Thanks for listening. If there's any more developments on this, if this goes anywhere, if I do that experiment, I know some papers, some tabloids have picked this up, and a couple of other YouTube channels have picked this EVP up. If things do develop from there, I will come back and have a chat with you about them. But for now, have a great day, a great evening, a great night, whatever time of day it is for you, and we will see you very, very soon.